Title: My wife declared, "I won't sacrifice my lifestyle for your oil field career." I replied, "Fair enough." Then I accepted the drilling supervisor position and moved alone. When she found out my so-called sacrifice came with a $210K annual salary start, "I won't sacrifice my lifestyle for your oil field career," she said, like she was announcing a boundary rather than delivering a blow. I remember the click of her wine glass against the table, sharp, final, the kind of sound that doesn't echo but sinks, like a knife finding its mark. I didn't argue, didn't plead, just said, "Fair enough." That was the moment she thought she'd won. We'd been married 7 years, met when I was still an engineer working my way up in the oil business. She loved the ambition in me back then, the late nights, the calls from rigs, the smell of diesel on my clothes, said it made me driven. But once the promotions came, once she got used to the dinners, the trips, the friends who measured worth in handbags and destinations, my drive became an inconvenience. She wanted stability, comfort. She wanted me home. And I, like a fool, tried to balance it all. I missed anniversaries, birthdays, weddings. I told myself it was temporary, that she'd understand in the end. Turns out she understood perfectly well. The first crack appeared when I returned early from a 2-week trip to find a stranger's cuff link on the hallway table. Silver, monogrammed. Not mine. She brushed it off, said it belonged to her friend's husband, a forgotten item during a dinner gathering. But her story had too many details and too little truth. I didn't confront her, not yet. I just started listening. To the silences between her words, to the shifts in her routine, to the laughter in the other room when she thought I was asleep. I wasn't angry, not then, just recalculating. When my company offered me the drilling supervisor position in the Middle East, I brought it up over dinner. "It's remote," I told her, 6 weeks on site, 2 weeks off. Good pay, but it's rough living. She looked at me like I'd suggested exile. I'm not sacrificing my lifestyle for some desert oil field. There it was, the line in the sand. Fair enough. That night, while she scrolled through resort photos in bed, I drafted my acceptance email. The salary, $210,000 per year. Housing and travel allowance included. No taxes. I sent it with one click. I didn't tell her right away. I wanted to watch the performance unfold. At first, she assumed I'd stay home, said I could find something local. She talked about remodeling the kitchen, about a trip to Paris. I let her plan a future that no longer included me. Meanwhile, I planned my exit. I had my accounts separated, my mail redirected, my personal items moved to storage. My lawyer, quietly efficient, drafted an updated will and an airtight prenup revision disguised as asset protection paperwork. She signed without reading. She never did. 2 months later, I boarded a plane. She didn't come to the airport. The rig was brutal. Heat, noise, and endless grit. But it gave me clarity. Days blurred, nights stretched, and for the first time in years, I wasn't performing for anyone. The paycheck hit after the first rotation. 6 figures in the account. I smiled. By the 3rd month, she finally called. "Hey, just checking in," she said casually, like she hadn't dismissed my career as a burden. "How's the desert life?" "Dry," I replied, "but productive." That's when she asked about money. Subtle at first, mentions of bills, plans, temporary expenses. I told her I'd handle it all from my work account. She didn't need to worry. She sounded relieved. I sounded calm. Behind the scenes, my lawyer had already begun the property transfer process. The house, paid for by my bonuses, was being listed under my company's asset protection trust. Her name removed quietly. The real unraveling began when she discovered my paycheck. She called in the middle of my night, voice trembling with disbelief. "210,000? You said it wasn't worth the distance." I let the silence do the work. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded. "Because," I said evenly, "you made your choice, and I respected it." Click. After that, the messages came in waves. Apologies wrapped in nostalgia, voice notes soaked in tears, texts that started with "I miss you" and ended with "We can fix this." I never replied. Instead, I forwarded everything to my lawyer: evidence, tone, timing, all useful for the divorce filing that went in a week later. When she was served, she called again, screaming, pleading, threatening. "You can't just walk away from everything we built." "I didn't," I said. "You did the moment you measured love in lifestyle." 3 months later, I came home. Not to her, but to the house, now legally mine alone. My company had transferred me stateside as regional supervisor, another pay bump. She showed up one afternoon, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes, clutching a handbag that probably cost more than my first car. "Please," she whispered at the door, "I made a mistake." I looked at her for a long time. The woman I'd once built a life around. The woman who thought love had a price tag. And maybe it did, but she'd already paid it. I stepped aside just long enough for her to see the empty hallway behind me, the life she'd been written out of. "Fair enough," I said. Then I closed the door. I didn't celebrate, didn't toast or smile or post quotes about self-worth. I just sat by the window that night, watching the lights flicker across the city skyline, and thought about the strange symmetry of it all. She taught me that love without respect is negotiation, that silence can be louder than rage, and that revenge doesn't always look like disruption. Sometimes it's simply moving on without offering them a seat in your future. She lost a husband. I found my peace. Fair enough.